Okay. Om Ajnanatimirandhasya Jnananjanashalakaya Chakshurunmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha Shri Chaitanya Manobhishtam Sthapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kadamahyam Dadati Swapadantikam Vancha Kalpatarubhyascha Kripa Sindhubhya Evacha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha जय श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैत गदाधर श्रीवासादि गौर भक्त वृंद हरे कृष्ण 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 हरे 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 राम 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 हरे हरे कूजन्तं राम रामेति मधुरं मधुराक्षरम् आरुह्य कविता शाखां वन्दे वाल्मीकिकोकिलम् मनोजवं मारुततुल्यवेगं जितेन्द्रियं बुद्धिमतां वरिष्ठं वातात्मजं वानरयूथमुख्यं श्रीरामदूतं शिरसा नमामि आपदामपहर्तारं दातारं सर्वसम्पदां लोकाभिरामं श्रीरामं भूयो भूयो नमाम्यहम् दक्षिणे लक्ष्मणो यस्य वामे च जनकात्मजा पुरतो मारुतिर्यस्य तं वन्दे रघुनन्दनम्. Okay, welcome back. Give me 1 second. Okay. So we're going to begin with Aranya Kanda. And to give you a context of this canto, I'm going to shift a little back and forth, so please be patient. Aranya, the word Aranya means a place where there is no war. Rana means battle, and Aranya means a place where there is no fighting, no battle. Now we find that all the sages live in a forest, and the Rakshasas are also there, and they're constantly harassing the great sages. So one might wonder, what is the meaning of no battle? It means that this is a place where the great sages live, and they're not into turf wars. They're not into extending their property line or encroaching upon another living entity's right to live. It is a place where the natural laws of nature, natural laws guide lifestyle. So there are predatory animals. There are the ones that are eaten. Then there are all other beings that without provocation, they can live in harmony. So it is called Aranya. And we're going to see the verses Valmiki is going to describe how all living entities, animals, the tigers, the lions, the deer, the birds, the rabbits or hares, the the flowers, the flora, the brushes, the trees, the sages, they all lived without provoking each other or encroaching on each other's rights. So that is Aranya. However, another meaning of Aranya Kanda is you will find that the sages and the Rakshasas live together or live simultaneously in the same places. And it is an indication of a person's heart or one's life, the area that one lives in. Not area is certain area, Chicago or like that. It means the material world. And in the material world, one should expect to face very favorable, very elevating circumstances, and very unfavorable and some very degrading circumstances. Life, as they say, is a mix of the good and the bad. You can't just have the good and not have it. That's not life. Because the good allows a person time to build their character so that at the time of bad, they can use that character to elevate themselves. Adversities or difficulties are opportunities to let one's character shine forth. So Aranyakanda particularly is a place where Ramachandra will show us how he comes to give his association to the sages and help those who have inimical attitude to be relieved of those things. In Bhagavad Gita, Krishna says, Paritranaya sardhunam vinashaya cha dushkritam dharma sansthapanarthaya sambhavami yuge yuge. So that shloka is very clearly, or an exposition of that shloka is the Aranyakanda. Paritranaya sadhunam. The word tranaya, we hear tranaya karunya ghana ganatvam. Tranaya means to release or to completely give. And pari is a prefix used in Sanskrit to mean in a wholesome, complete way or in a meaningful way. For example, if somebody is in a difficulty, for example, somebody is hungry and another person feels something for that person who's hungry and gives them some food to eat to relieve them of their hunger. That's called tranaya. But paritranaya means that not only helps the immediate situation, but relieves them from that condition and elevates them to a higher place. And that is called paritranaya. So when you offer some hungry person prasadam of Krishna, the prasadam of Ramachandra, that prasadam not only satisfies the hunger in the immediate context, but awakens the attraction for the Supreme Lord. That is why prasadam is such an important aspect that is spoken about in the Bhagavad Gita, chapter 3. Yagya sishta sina santo muchyante sarva kilbishai. So whatever one eats from yagya, Krishna doesn't say it relieves them from hunger. He says it relieves them from their difficult situation of life. Sarva kilbisha. It relieves them from their sinful condition of life, or whatever treacherous condition of consciousness one has. So this is Aranyakanda. So you will find, we will find a complete mix of great sages and Rakshasas, one episode after another. And in most cases, we'll find that they alternate each other. First, they will meet a demon. His name is Viradha. Then they will meet Sharabhanga. Then they will meet another demon. Then another Sutikshna. Then another demon, like that. It's going to alternate. Because in one sense, Sukha Dukkha always come one after the other because they are called dvandas. In English, we are familiar with the phrase duality, heat and cold, good and bad, victory and loss, victory and defeat, profit and loss. They always come together. One is they're different sides of the same coin. So Dandakaaranya, Aranya is obviously forest. Now the question is, how did this place get the name Dandaka? So it's called Dandaka-Aranya, or we say Dandaka forest. So here's what happened, and the reference for this is Uttarakanda in the Valmiki Ramayana. That canto is called Uttara because it has different meanings. Technically, Uttara is north, or that which is on top. So in a novel, you have something called prologue and epilogue. Epilogue is on top of the novel. It gives you some background information of the characters or the incidents in the novel. Epilogue. So it's called Uttara. Another meaning for Uttara is answer. If you have a prashna, question, you should have an answer, Uttara. So throughout the Ramayana, people have questions. Why did Ramachandra send Sita away to the forest when she was pregnant? What is the backstory of Hanuman? How did Hanuman, who we meet as a minister of Sugriva, suddenly realize that he can jump across to Lanka, vanquish Ravana's Lanka, burn it down, come back, and he was such a fascinating servant of Ramachandra? What's his story all about? What is Ravana's story? How did he become such a treacherous fellow? Etc. And the unwinding of Ramachandra's pastimes from this mortal world are all answers naturally, and they fit the canto called Uttarakanda. So in Uttarakanda, there is the backstory of Dandaka forest. Way back when, during the time of Vaivasvata Manu, which is the Manvantara that we are currently going through, every Manu has 71 yuga cycles to rule upon. One yuga cycle is 4,320,000 years. Satya Yuga, Dwapara, Treta, Kali, and in this particular one, it's Satya, Treta, Dwapara, Kali. You add up all the years, it's 4,320,000 years. Times 71 is the reign of one Manu. And in one day of Brahma, 14 Manus appear. So you multiply the numbers, you get 4,320,000,000 years roughly, with some overlap period or transition period. So every yuga cycle has these 4 yugas, and in one of these yuga cycles, Vaivasvata Manu, Vaivasvata means the son of Vivaswan, Surya Dev. His son is called Vaivasvata Manu, and his son was Ikshvaku. So this whole region was created by Vaivasvata Manu, and he ruled it very, very nicely. That whole tract of area under Manu was so abundantly gifted with all sorts of resources that it was considered one of the best places on Bhuloka. And when time came, Manu gave the kingdom to his son Ikshvaku and told him to rule fairly, justly. Where he needed to be soft, he should be, and where he needed to take a firm stance and punish as a king, he should. And Ikshvaku did very, very nicely. And with sufficient advice and blessings, Ikshvaku received this kingdom. Then, as time passed, Ikshvaku gave birth to 100 sons, 100 sons. And they were all exceptionally qualified, except the last one. Somehow, his characteristic and nature was not princely and not in a way that is considered elevated. And he showed characteristics that he was not obedient to his superiors, etc. So his name was Danda. Ikshvaku gave him the name Danda. Danda technically means a rod, and a king holds a scepter. It's called Danda. because he is the one who can punish on behalf of the demigods. He is the one who can punish, and that's I'm not going to talk about the the responsibilities of a king just yet, but he carries this scepter. If you see, every king carries a rod of punishment. So his name was Danda because he thought that this guy doesn't have enough in him, and this will remind him that he should live his life in a way that he's always under the possibility of danda. Another word or another meaning for the word danda is punishment. That is why, uh, because it is punished with a rod, it's called danda. So now, what he did, he distributed the kingdom to his sons, and this particular forested area he gave to his son, and told him, please take care of it. It's the area between the Vindhya and what's called the Shaivala Mountains. And Danda did an excellent job of making the kingdom very, very prolific. And at that time, he named that area Madhumanta. And for tens of thousands of years, Danda ruled that kingdom very nicely. And it was free of all troubles. It was rich, it was green, verdant. Everything was going very, very well. But when everything goes very well, something has to happen because that's the rule of time, right? Some challenge always comes. So one day, the king had visited the ashram of Bhargava. Bhargava means a descendant of Bhrigu Muni. So there are many Bhargavas technically because Bhrigu Muni has many sons, and every son is called a Bhargava. So when he visited the ashram of Bhargava and he was walking out, everything was very beautiful. His eyes fell upon a very, very charming young girl, a young woman. Her beauty was something that he had never seen. And naturally, he got very attracted to her. And he could not control the urge to go speak with her and ask her if he could propose marriage to her. So he went and he asked her, oh, beautiful girl, when I see you, my heart has been completely agitated. And I want to ask you who your father is. Is there a way you will allow me to marry you and accept you? And this girl said, oh, great king, I am the oldest daughter of Bhargava Rishi, and my name is Araja. And I live here in this ashram. And my father, who's actually your worshipable master as well, because you're a disciple or a follower of this great sage, if he were to see me and you exchanging conversations like this, it would not be right. If you need to ask my hand, I think the right way is to approach my father and ask him. So she turned around and started walking away. And Danda could not control his senses. As Araja was walking and speaking and walking away, he couldn't wait to do it the right way or ask her father. He forcibly wanted to, I guess, enjoy her company and enjoy her body. When she forbade him, he forced himself upon her and raped her. So, and after his lust was satisfied, he turned around and walked away. And the girl was left behind, like in a shattered condition, naturally. And so, when Bhargava Rishi came back, he saw his daughter was in such a condition. He asked her, what happened? And she told him, this is what exactly happened. I tried to explain to him. but he wouldn't listen. So Bhrigumuni, Bhargava, sorry, got very upset and pronounced a curse upon Danda. He said, "The king is stupid. He has no intelligence. He cannot discern between what is good and what is bad. He cannot discern what is how to protect his citizens. So this fool will suffer for many, many years, and his entire kingdom uh, will become full of ash. All that beauty, all that greenery, all everything is going to vanish. And I curse him. Uh, in 7 days, the entire Dandaka area will be vanquished." And then he told his daughter, "You stay here, okay? And at a proper time, things will become better for you. This whole area will become repaired. Until that time, you stay here." And all of the residents then moved out of Dandaka and lived in another area. So that area where the people started living was called Janasthana. We hear Ramachandra visiting Janasthana. So that because Jana are living there, it's called Janasthana, and this area became completely desolate. So that is how this place got the name Dandakaranya. Became a forest, and over time, then slowly vegetation grew. The king had left it away. It became completely abandoned, and over time, things became came to normal, but no one would live there. So the sages found a place to live in those places, quite free from any disturbance, but Rakshasas also came to live there. Okay. So that's the background of Dandakaranya. So let's start the first chapter of Aranya Kanda. And it starts with Ramachandra, Lakshmana, and Sita Devi entering this great forest. Pravishyatu Maharanya, Dandakaranya Atmavan, Dadarsha Ramo Durdharsha Tapasashrama Mandalam. Pravishyatu Maharanya, Ramachandra entered this great forest called Dandakaranya. Dadarsha, there Ramachandra saw Durdharsha, invincible. This forest seemed invincible. And he also saw Tapasa Ashram Mandalam. Tapasa means all the ascetics, the sages. Ashrama Mandalam means all their huts gathered together in a group. Mandala means group. So this great personality Ramachandra and Maharanya, Maha great person, or Maharanya means the great forest, or Maha Ramachandra and Aranya Dandaka, however is you want to see it, entered this great and invincible forest, and he saw a cluster of huts that belonged to the great sages. Now, one of the words here is Atmavan. Pravishyatu Maharanyam Dandakaranya-Aranya. So this word Atmavan has great meaning, because in the beginning of Ramayana, in the very first chapter, Valmiki asks Narada Muni, Konvaswin Sampratam Loke, Gunavan, Kasya Viryavan, etc. There are 16 qualities he wants to find out. And one of the qualities that he wants to know is who is a person currently in this universe who I can consider Atmavan. And so Govindaraja Swami gives multiple meanings for the word Atmavan. So I'm going to share a few of those meanings. First of all, the word Atmavan means fearless. And the way to know that the word Atmavan means fearless is in the shloka Maharanyam, Durdharsha. Maha is the great forest, and Durdharsha means invincible. So when a person walks or faces something that is invincible and they have no fear in the heart, then they're called Atmavan. Yeah, when you see a forest or when you see the Pacific Ocean, something so vast, the first emotion that evokes is fear. I want to tell you a side story. One of my uncles, and I think I've narrated this to some of you. One of my uncles, when he had gotten married, he brought his wife to Mumbai to visit us and show her around Mumbai. That was her first time ever out of a small village or small area in rural Andhra Pradesh and landed or came to Mumbai. And he took her to, we used to call it VT station, Chhatrapati Shivaji Terminus. I think now it's called CST. And if you stand there at any time of the day as trains come and stop and a sea of people come at you getting out of the train station. I mean, if you ever had experience traveling by train in Mumbai, great. If you have not, it's one experience you should have, and you know what it means to travel by train in Mumbai. One of my friends from college, Ajay, is there today, and I'm sure he will know because we all traveled like that by train to get to college and school. So she was standing there, and he was showing her this is VT station. It's a very fascinating station built by the British, massive. And when she was standing there, a sea of people were getting off the train and coming out of the building, and just looking at that sea of people coming at her, she had a panic attack. And for 3 days, she had diarrhea and she was bedridden because that panic was so intense for her. Ramachandra entered the forest, but Atmavan, fearless. There's nothing that can shake the supreme personality of Godhead, Sri Ramachandra. In fact, fear personified is afraid of Ramachandra or the holy name of Lord Krishna. So in the first chapter, fourth verse, he asked, who's Valmiki asked, who's Atmavan? And Ramachandra entering the forest means he has come there to protect the sages who are living there, and they are considered Sajjana or Dina Jana. So how can he be afraid if he's going to protect them? So he's fearless. Okay, and Atmavan also means one who's fixed in absolute truth. That's the second meaning of Atmavan. And there are references, if you like, from Srimad Bhagavatam. And some of us study Srimad Bhagavatam. In Canto 3, Chapter 27, verse number 8, Srila Prabhupada writes, a devotee should always remain Atmavan or situated in his spiritual position. He should not forget that his main concern is to make advancement in spiritual consciousness or Krishna consciousness, and he should not ignorantly identify himself with the body or the mind. What it means, Atmavan, is whenever there is a situation in life, it is quite possible that a person has a misidentification about themselves. They think of themselves in terms of their physical identity. I'm Indian, I am man, I am woman, I am a son, I'm a father, I'm a teacher, I'm a student, I'm whatever. I belong to this state, this area. So those are all designations of the body. That's not who we really are. And because of a false sense of identity, we also have a false sense of proprietorship. This is my house, my car, my country, my possessions, my people, my enemies, etc. But a person who's situated in the self sees all living beings as part and parcels of the Supreme Lord Sri Krishna. And to see the entire life and to see all circumstances from the vantage point of the soul or Atma is called Atmavan. And obviously, it's not an easy task. But the process of Bhakti Yoga is to develop such a view and vision of life. The third meaning, according to Govindaraja, is uh, the meaning of Atmavan is one who can inspire and maintain loving relationships. So Baladev Vidyabhushan, he gives us this meaning from the Vishnu Sahasranama, because there the word Atmavan comes up. And according to Baladev Vidyabhushan, Atmavan means he keeps an eternal loving relationship with the liberated souls. Okay. So if you look at in this canto, we're going to see Ramachandra's exchanges with Jatayu, Shabari, Sutikshna, Sharabhanga, etc. And we get an idea how he maintains those, he inspires and maintains those relationships. And they all belong to different categories of realizations. For example, we'll hear Sharabhanga, a person who is fixed in his karma, in his activities and duties. So he's called Karmanishta. And Ramachandra exchanges very amazingly with Sharabhanga. Sutikshna is an expert yogi. Agastya Muni, who he meets again, is fixed in jnana. So he is a jnananishta person. Jatayu, he is sevanishta or kainkaryanishta. He's fixed in offering service. He's not a great yogi or jnani, but he gives his life for protecting Sita Devi. So he's called kainkaryanishta. And Shabari has the characteristic of what is called Guru Nishtha or Acharya Nishtha. In fact, she didn't even have the kind of affection for Ramachandra as she had for her Guru, Matanga Rishi. And because the Guru had ordered her, she was serving Ramachandra. In fact, in the case of, when we get there, we'll talk. In the case of Jatayu, Ramachandra offered moksha or liberation to Jatayu. But in the case of Shabari, Ramachandra was only a witness. Her liberation came by the power of her Guru. Okay. So this word Atmavan has these meanings. Then, when Ramachandra entered the forest, he saw there was kusha grass spread on the ground all over, and on the tree branches were hanging cloth made of jute or bark. They're called Chira Krishna Jinambaram. And he saw sacrifice materials for yajna, and the whole place was bright, shining like the orb of the sun. It says, Dadarsham Gagane Surya Mandalam. When you look at the sun, you can't keep your gaze at the sun too long. It'll burn our eyes. But the resplendence was so intense. So this whole place, because it was lived by great sages, this place was shining. And in that shining effulgence, Ramachandra, Lakshmana, and Sita appeared to the sages. So the reference the Acharyas give is from Ishopanishad, where in 15th verse of Ishopanishad we hear, Hiranmayena patrena satyasya pihitam mukham tvam pushan apavranu satya dharmaya drishyate. Please reveal to me your beautiful face beyond the effulgence of this Brahman light. And so Ramachandra and Sita saw that the entire place was clean, well decorated. All the living entities were living there without any anxiety or fear. Mrigair barhu. Mrigair means deer. Barhu is peacock. Pakshi Sangaihi, all the flocks of birds. Samavrutam, they had all collected there. And the heavenly damsels would come and dance there, because every time the sages would perform wonderful yagyas for offering to Lord Vishnu, it was celebrated by the apsaras who will come and dance in those places. The whole place, we could see the different fire pits set up, one for cooking, one for yagya, one for starting the original fire. All the sacred items kept there, the sound of the Vedic hymns somehow reverberating in the place. Very amazing, amazing to look at and gaze at. So when these three entered the ashram, all the great sages, thousands and thousands of them, got up and rushed to meet them. Okay, and they received them in this way. They says, Valmiki says, Tetam somam ivadyutam drishtva vai dharmacharinim lakshmanam chaiva drishtva vaidehim cha yashasvinim mangalani prayugyana pratyagrudha drudhavrata. So, Tetam somam ivam udyotaha. When they saw Ramachandra, it was like the full moon had just arisen from the horizon. And Dharmacharinim, they saw that Ramachandra is one who always follows the path of Dharma. Whatever be the challenge, he will never violate that path of Dharma. Lakshmanam chaiva drushta, they also saw Lakshmana, and Vaidehim cha yashasvinim. Vaidehi is Sita Devi, the daughter of Videha, king of Videha, and Yashasvinim. She is the one who brings fame for Ramachandra. And Mangalani Prayumgyata. Mangalani means they all offered their blessings and benedictions to Ramachandra. And the benedictions is, may you be safe. May you receive all of the pleasures of this world. May you receive every gift of grace that can come to you. Now, generally, when any person goes to a temple or comes in front of a deity of the Lord, the first thing a person has the tendency to do is fold their hands, close their eyes, and ask the Lord, can I get something from you? In fact, that's one reason most people go to temple, to ask something. Here the sages are showing what bhakti looks like. They didn't ask them. They didn't ask Ramachandra, Sita and Lakshmana, oh, you have come to the forest, thank you. Now you can give us this, you can give us that. In fact, they are giving benedictions and blessings and offering words of grace to these three. So bhakti is about giving service, giving words, kirtanam, giving, glorifying the Lord. That is bhakti. And so one of the acharyas, Govindaraja, explains the word, why Sita is called Yashaswini. Because they're very realized persons. They have been meditating in these for thousands and thousands and thousands of years, tens of thousands of years, and over multiple lifetimes, the acharyas say, meditating on the Supreme Lord and hoping that one day their prayers, their sadhana will come to perfection. And today is the day it has become perfect. And they understand that there is a divine reason for Ramachandra, Sita and Lakshmana to enter the forest. And they are, in one sense, giving us an insight of what will happen in the future, that Sita Devi will give Ramachandra the fame that he deserves. It is because of her, because she's the one who's going to get kidnapped by Ravana. And the idea is to kill all of the Rakshasas in the forest and then leading up to Ravana. And Now here, I'm going to read a few verses. This is how the sages are seeing Ramachandra. Okay, and then we'll tell you what is happening in the background, what's happening inside their heart. Rupa Samhananam Lakshmim Saukumaryam Suveshatam Dadarsha Vismitakara Ramasya Vanavasinaha. So Vanavasina, the sages living in the forest, Rupa Samhananam, they were looking at, gazing at the form of Lord Ramachandra, and something happened for them. It says Vismita. Vismita means wonder. They became so awestruck looking at Ramachandra's form, Rupa Samhananam. Elsewhere, some of the sages explain that the thousands and thousands and thousands of sages, in a rush to go see Ramachandra, they saw different parts of Ramachandra's body. Someone saw his feet, someone saw only his toes, some saw his knees, some saw his waist, some saw his shoulders, his chest, somebody only saw his arms, someone just saw the tips of his fingers, some saw his face, some saw the hair matted up, some saw his eyes, and each part of that body was so captivating that their eyes did not move to any other part of Ramachandra's feature, because that particular feature was so captivating, they didn't feel the need to see the other features of Ramachandra, that is Rupa Samhananam. And Lakshmi means splendorous. It was so attracting and effulgent. Saukumarya, it was so delicate, seemed like very, very delicate. Although, please understand, Ramachandra is a Kshatriya carrying bow and arrow and weapons, but seemed so delicate, not weak, just delicate. When you look at a lotus flower, it is so delicate that you might hesitate to touch it. And Suveshatam, he was not wearing royal clothes, he was wearing tree bark and deer skin. But the way it was adorned around his body, what it looked so perfectly hugging his form. So it seemed so well dressed. Suveshatam. Dadarsha Vismitakara Ramasya. Vismitakara. Vismita Akara, the form of Lord Ramachandra, was captivating. And when they saw Ramachandra, Lakshmana, Sita, Valmiki says, Netre Animishar Animisha Iva, that their eyes were gazing upon them and they did not even care to blink their eyes, because if they blink, they might lose a very, very small moment. It will be an interruption in the experience of Ramachandra's beauty. Naitre Anumishaha. Ascharya Adbhutan Dadrushu. Okay. Ascharya. They were surprised at the beauty. They were looking at Ramachandra, Sita in their hearts, the Supreme Lord in their hearts. And when he came in front of them, they were completely wonderstruck. Ascharya Bhutanand Tadrushu. They saw. We know from Dhruva Maharaja's story. Dhruva was seeing the Lord in his heart, and Lord Prishnigarbha came and stood in front of him. And when Dhruva saw him, he was so awestruck, he didn't know what to say. No words came out of his mouth until Lord Prishnigarbha touched his head with his shankha. And suddenly, this flow of choice poetry came out. So they invited Ramachandra to come and sit in their little hut, and they could not take their eyes off him. So they brought all sorts of things to offer because he has arrived at their house. They've been meditating that one day we might see the Supreme Lord. So Pushpam Moola Phalam Sarvatashramam cha Mahatmanaha Nivedayitva Dharmagyasto Tataha Pranjaleyo Bruvan. Pranjali means holding your hands like this. Abruvan, they spoke after offering Pushpam Moolam Phalam Sarva Ashramam cha Mahatma. They offered everything that they had. What does Krishna say? Patram Pushpam Phalam Toyam Yome Bhaktya Prayachati. If you offer me with love, I will accept whatever you offer with love. So Niveditya, they made an offering to Ramachandra. And then they spoke. They said, O Ramachandra, you are the refuge of all people, the protector of dharma, the chastiser of the wrongdoers. You are the worshipable and respectable guru for all of us. Okay. Now, they tell him, you are 1/4 of Indra. So our commentators describe that 1/4 of Indra has two different meanings. The Indra being referred to here is not the Indra in Svargaloka, but it means Indra who's the king of the entire creation. Lord Vishnu or Lord Narayana or Lord Krishna, as we understand. And you are 1/4 because you've appeared in 4 features: Ramachandra, Lakshmana, Bharata, Shatrughna. You're one of those 4. So they call him as Ekabhagaha. Indrasyeha Chaturbhagaha Pragya Rakshati Raghavaha. I'm running out of time. There's so much more to say. I don't want to rush. Let me pause here. There are a few more verses that have great meaning, but we'll continue next week. But here's something that I want you to know what's happening in the background. What's happening in the background is something very interesting. These sages, when they see Ramachandra, in their heart has awakened conjugal rasa, madhurya or shringara rasa for Ramachandra. Now it's awkward that they are in male bodies, but they are having conjugal affection for Ramachandra. And Ramachandra being Maryada Purushottam, obviously they cannot break character. Neither the sages can break character, nor Ramachandra can. Now, one may wonder, how can men have conjugal feelings for Ramachandra? And so the answer is this. The rasa is awakening of the soul, and the soul by nature is Prakriti. So it naturally has an attraction for the Lord. The Sharira can be masculine or feminine, doesn't matter. Therefore, our great Acharyas, Rupa Goswami, Sanatana Goswami, all of them, although in male bodies, wrote poems of Shringara or Madhurya Rasa. Even Bhaktivinoda Thakur expressed when he realized his spiritual identity as one of the Manjaris who was assisting the gopis who were serving Radharani. It is quite okay. So love for Krishna, love for Ramachandra does not have to be restricted by the physical form that one has. Okay. So Ramachandra is such that it has awakened that love in them. But Ramachandra cannot accept or engage with them in that rasa in this form. So they have to wait for him to appear as Krishna. And so I'm going to take your attention to a book that many of us are familiar. It's called The Nectar of Devotion or Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu in chapter 16 called Spontaneous Devotional Service Further Described. Srila Prabhupada writes, this development of conjugal love for Krishna is not manifested in women only. The material body has nothing to do with spiritual loving affairs. A woman may develop an attitude for becoming a friend of Krishna And similarly, a man may develop the feature of becoming a gopi in Vrindavan. How a devotee in the form of a man can desire to become a gopi is stated in the Padma Purana as follows. In the days gone by, there were many sages in Dandakaaranya. Dandakaaranya is the name of the forest where Lord Ramachandra lived after being banished by his father for 14 years. At that time, there were many advanced sages who were captivated by the beauty of Lord Ramachandra and who desired to become women in order to embrace the Lord. Later on, these sages appeared in Gokula Vrindavan, where Krishna advented himself there, and they were born as gopis or girlfriends of Krishna. In this way, they attained the perfection of spiritual life. Okay. So in Krishna's pastime, they're called the Rishichari gopis. These are the gopis who perform the Katyayani Vrata, entered the cold Yamuna river in January time with their clothes hanging outside on the trees and tree branches, just the way Ramachandra saw that the clothes were hanging on the tree branches, and Krishna had stolen those garments, and he had asked all of those gopis to come out of the river with their hands upraised like this. So those Rishichari gopis, they're called the Rishicharis, and they were accepted by Krishna in that conjugal rasa. And this reference of Padma Purana, I'm going to say one thing and pause. In Padma Purana, it is described that when the sages saw Ramachandra and their conjugal feelings had awakened, they started to curse Lord Brahma, or they started to speak badly about Lord Brahma and say that what kind of a creator is he? He is created us in a very unintelligent way. Although his body is made fully of intelligence, his creation lacks intelligence. And the lacking of intelligence is that he has put us in forms of or male bodies when our this huge tsunami like wave of affection for Lord Ramachandra cannot be expressed. So Brahma's creation is not proper. Of course, don't take it literally. It's the expression of love. So I'm going to pause here and see if there are any comments or questions or thoughts or anything you have. We have a few minutes.
Hare Krishna, Prabhu.
Hare Krishna.
Prabhu, I have a question about, what you were saying in the beginning about there's always distress after happiness, and it's just, accepted as a fact of life, that it's just always going to follow. So I can sense, in me, such an aversion towards, such a tendency to avoid distress, and that is, it seems like it's so natural for me, in my current state where, and it doesn't even have to be like big things. I was thinking like last night, the kids have become older and more independent and they sleep in their own rooms. But last night they crawled into the bed and we had a family bed, and it was just so sweet for, for us to sleep together. And it's simple pleasures like that. And then when I think of, distress, there's just this tendency for avoidance that creeps in. Could you please explain more about how to flex this muscle more of becoming at least comfortable with, distress, or that it's going to be coming?
I was going to say a particular sentence, but it would be out of the forum that you're in. I was going to say, seems like you need peace, but you get the joke there. You have a need for peace. Distress literally comes from a wrong sense of expectation. Because if you had expected something, it's not as distressful as when you don't expect it. And therefore, in the Bhagavad Gita, Krishna sets our expectations. He says, Dukkhalayam ashashvatam. It is there. Now, by Krishna's grace, somehow we might circumvent it in our normal day to day affairs. But there is nobody in this world who is immune to distress. Immunity is here, not out there. Distresses are always there. We are living in a forest, right? It has to be there. So the idea is to develop the immunity here in our consciousness. That and part of the development of that immunity, or the first stage, is setting our expectations. That anytime anything can spring upon us. In other words, it's called vigilance, or just expecting that if everything is going way too well, like, okay, what's hiding behind the covers there? Who knows, right? Of course, we don't live a life of fear or distrust that, oh, it's too good to be true. That's not the point here. But if no distress, then that is too good to be true. And to shatter that image of everything will be wonderful, Krishna sends all his great associates to exemplify what distress looks like, and even in great sages who have actually no animosity towards anyone. With Jesus, Prahlad Maharaj, Draupadi, Kunti. I mean, there's a whole bunch of examples. Just not really doing anything to anybody, living their own life, but distress keeps coming one after the other, one after the other. And last night we were discussing that when favorable circumstances happen, that is the time for the devotees or those who are practicing bhakti to develop strength. It's like making hay while sun shines. Because right after that favorable circumstances, somewhere, some unfavorable circumstance will happen, not might happen, will happen. And it is the strength of character that we developed during the good times. We draw upon that for strength, for shelter at the Lord's feet, that we go take shelter. Instead of any other shelter, we accept the shelter of the feet of the Lord and his devotees. It's that cultivation during the good times, if you will. So, I mean, I'm not saying that in your life distress should come or will come. I would never expect that in anyone's life. But to not expect in one's life, I think would be incorrect. So that other side, one should at least be aware of, if not willing or ready, at least be aware of. Therefore, this world and Aranya Kanda explicitly teaches us that the good and bad, the favorable and unfavorable circumstances are always the two sides of the coin. They will come. The great sages are under distress. They're being tormented by the Rakshasas. Of course, they're not feeling personally for themselves, but it is there. The distress is there. Then he meets all these demons, Viradha, etc. Kabandha. They were all doing something. Something happened in their life and they got cursed. So three distresses are always there, right? Adhyatmika, distress due to one's own body and mind will always be there as one is aging. I mean, not you. I am aging. You don't age. Adhyatmika. Adibhautika. We're all married, so we know what that is. And Adidevika. We're living in Chicago. We know that what that is also. I mean, it's there. So setting expectations is the first step in not getting disturbed. Of course, we don't live our relationships with doubts. Oh, a very good friend, but who knows? We try not to live like that. But the world is such that you should expect something, big or small. Is that okay?
Thank you so much. That's very helpful.
Thank you.
Hare Krishna, Prabhu.
Hare Krishna. Yes, Atulya.
So, Prabhu, is there any description of how the rishis' life was before they met Sri Ramachandra? Like, what was their sadhana?
Yeah, so we just read the description of their hermitages, right? The tree bark clothing was hanging from the branches, the deer skin was there, the sacrificial arena was there, the fires were there, the pots were there for all the sacrifices, the flowers and fruits and tubers were there, all the animals were there, for some were there for sacrifice, some were there because they were living there, they were living in harmony, they were living a life of bhakti, performing their yajnas. Tretayam yajato makhai. That is their devotional practices.
Yeah, I was about to ask, like, we do also hear about other sages who do the yagyas, but we don't really associate them to be the pure devotees of the Lord. But here, the sages who are, or the rishis who are doing all these yagyas are pure. So I was just trying to distinguish.
Yeah, I'm not sure that we should consider that those who do yagyas are not pure. It's not like that. They are doing the yuga dharma, and that's how they are pure. Krite yad dhyayato Vishnu. In Satya Yuga, the yuga dharma is meditation on Vishnu. Tretayam yajato makha. In Treta Yuga, the yuga dharma is fire yagya. Dwapare paricharyayam. The word paricharya means to be a servant, to do service. So paricharya is technically service in the temple or deity worship, as Prabhupada told us. And kalau tad hari kirtanad. In Kali Yuga, the only method is hari kirtan. This is Srimad Bhagavatam. So we shouldn't think that those who are performing yagya are not pure devotees. In fact, those who are chanting Hare Krishna may not be.
Very interesting. Thank you.
Purity is not just the external practice, but through the consciousness. Dhruva is considered a pure devotee. He performed this unbelievable meditative process for 6 months without eating, without drinking, only breathing once in 15 days in the 6th month. We can't say he's not pure because Lord Prishnigarbha appeared to him in the heart and in front of him. Without purity, it's not possible.
Is there any description of their previous life, or is that we know? So you said
No,
their
there
next
isn't.
life is Krishna's pastimes, but previous life we don't know.
No.
Okay.
I mean, they may have come from different gradations of sadhana. They're all considered sadhana siddhas.
Okay. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Hare Krishna, Prabhu. Prabhu, can you hear me?
I can.
I have a maybe little unrelated question. Is it okay?
Sure. Is it okay if I give you an unrelated answer?
Still, it will relate somehow, Prabhu. I know. Let's see. So my question was, I'm thinking that you spoke just now about consciousness. So I usually think about we might have different conceptions growing up and from the past births, and in the realm of devotional service also, those conceptions are definitely affecting. And but sometimes we don't even know that, okay, and sometimes we rest in those conceptions, particularly for myself, I'm speaking that I might have certain conceptions and I'm just resting in them. My consciousness was not like a blank slate where just new concepts I studied and I'm trying to apply those. So I mean, sometimes we feel insufficiency and not progressing or these, that. So are those conceptions might be bothering us, or how to just get rid of how to get that clarity or get rid of those subtle conceptions that we might not even know sometimes.
Conceptions are removed only from hearing, from Shravanam. We say from our bhakti process, but there is a verse that I've really liked. It's in the Srimad Bhagavatam, second canto, I think chapter 3. The verse goes, Pravishta Karnarandhrena Swanam Bhava Saroruham Dhunoti Shamalam Krishna Shalilasya Yatha Sharat. That when the sound of the holy name, or Katha, however you say it, enters through the Karnarandhrena, through the hole of the ear, where does it go? Swanam Bhava Saroruham. It should go and open the lotus of the heart. And Dhunoti Shamalam, all the dirt that is there suddenly goes to the rock bottom, to the bed of that river. Shalilasya Yatha Sharat. So what happens in rainy season is because of the rain that's falling on the hill, a whole bunch of soil and sand and dirt is moved and the rivers become brown in color. That means the river, the water that is pure actually gets mixed with a lot of dirt. So the rivers are brown. And in autumn, as soon as the first showers touch the surface of the river, all the dust settles and the river becomes crystal clear. Shalilasya Yatha, Shalila is rain. Sharat is autumn, Sharad Mas. Shalilasya Yatha Sharat Dhunoti Shamalam. Dhunoti means it's cleansed. So these conceptions, they cause the pure katha or pure holy name, pure conceptions, if they are being interrupted, the holy name then settles all of that down. It is actually not just the holy name, but the power of the Guru's voice or sound. Therefore, sound is considered the most powerful medium, and that is why mantras are always spoken into the ear of the disciple by the Guru. So the mantra and the Guru's voice, that's the carrier of the mantra, is supposed to remove the conceptions in the heart. This is poetically expressed in the verse, but that's the mechanics of it. And when one hears new conceptions, obviously it will clash or challenge the existing conceptions. And that's where we have a difficulty in following an instruction or understanding an instruction, or we ask questions, pariprashna, and by asking the question back to the Guru, the existing conception takes a lower position and the words of the Guru, the Shastra and sadhus, they take a higher position. So the methodology is Shravanam, Kirtanam, Smaranam, etc.
Got it. Just one quick little funny thing just was there in my mind going on for some time. So, for example, like I'm cooking and my mind goes somewhere and I burn my hand. So, like consciousness goes with mind or it stays with the senses. Like, when I get burned or something, so consciousness is where it went with the mind or it was with the hand.
Well, for the benefit of others, you didn't burn the food and burnt your hand. So thank you. That's a joke. The consciousness is always, the information is interpreted by the mind. For example, if a dead body's hand, the whole dead body is put in fire, nothing happens. There's no sensation. The sensation is in the soul experiences it, but it's through the medium of the mind. Now, take the other example. When there is an anesthesia, the faculty of the mind is sedated or whatever, even if there is a cut, you don't feel the pain.
I'm with the mind, but as soon as I get that feeling, it comes back to the present, right? That's fair to understand.
I'm sorry, your voice got cut off. I couldn't understand what you're saying.
Just making final understanding statement, Prabhu, that so it went with the mind with all the thoughts, but as soon as I feel that sensation of burning, it comes back to the present. Is that a
Yeah,
fair
obviously. Sure. Because it's happening right now. Now, there are many persons who are very absent that even if their hand is burning, they don't notice. One can be very absent that way too. It's possible, but yes, it brings us to the present because the body is meant to keep us in the present in one sense by what's happening. Have you noticed, either in your life or in anyone's life, that when they are dealing with some emotion, let's say some negative emotion like sadness or anger, the sense of hunger and all that goes away? Because they're not present to the fact of hunger. They are somewhere else.
Yeah, that is very helpful, Prabhu. Thank you so much.
You're welcome. All right. Anything last final words of anyone? Otherwise, we'll stop here. I don't want to go way too much. Okay. If nothing, thank you. We'll continue chapter 1 next time we meet. Thank you for your patience. I'm taking a little time because these verses are amazing, and it's important to appreciate these great sages and they're reaching the perfection of their sadhana, and it being facilitated by the Supreme Lord for them. And until we meet again, we can appreciate the picture in our mind of Ramachandra, Sita Devi, and Lakshmana, hopefully entering the forest of our existence, and that we may be able to receive them similarly as the sages did, and that our whatever dormant affection for the Lord is there, that can be awakened and be set on the track of becoming perfect whenever their grace falls upon us. Thank you. Hare Krishna. Have a wonderful week. Srila Prabhupada ki jai.
Hare Krishna Prabhu.